John, small town bookseller. I'm here with another video, a video about books that I have sold on ye olden eBays. And so we're going to talk about them. These are books that I actually sold last October, like the middle of October to the end of October. I know it's been a while, but I wanted to tell you about them because there's some good ones in there, and you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe that's sold, and he's the one that sold it. I saw a video about it. That's fantastic. I can't wait to go to work tomorrow and tell everyone all about it. Yep, that's what it's going to be. So we're going to get into it because these are the kind of videos I do. I don't do garage sale videos. I don't do yard sale videos. I don't, even though I was at the Goodwill bins today, I did not have a GoPro that would be looking at my hands like a universe of ineffable gaudiness that had spun itself out of its brain while the clock ticked on the washstand and the moon soaked with wet light his tangled clothes upon the floor. Not these hands. These hands put the clothes away. They do not set them on the floor for the moonlight to soak in wet light. Not at all. We're going to be talking about some good and some bad. So with eBay, you know, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have the facts of life. The facts of life. Yes, but that is true about the eBay. So what do you want, the good or the bad first? Well, that's not the way I had it planned. So I'm actually going to do the good first, and then we'll talk about the bad later. Hope you don't mind. If you really want the bad first, you can start at the end and play it in reverse. And hopefully there's no hidden messages or anything like that in there if you do that. So we're going to go through. We have 22 sales for this time period. And 19 of them were books. So that last video, that was all chock full of a bunch of Nada books. I don't know what's going on with that. This time we have 19 books, just 3 Nada books. And we've got some pretty good sales in here. So, yeah, I've got some kind of not really advice so much as just kind of what I did in order to get the sale. So we'll talk about that as well at the end. Are you ready? Okay, we'll get to it now. The first book that sold is this one for a whopping $5. $5. A Lynching in the Heartland, Race and Memory in America. So quickly, for people who are new, I buy books at the good old bins primarily, 50 cents a piece. I also occasionally go to other thrift stores around the area. The one that I like to go to a lot usually has them for 3 for $2, so you do the math on that. And other ones are, you know, pretty roughly about that same price. That being said, I still, because I'm only very much part-timing this, I don't like to put in list any books under $10. Occasionally I'll list it at 10, I'll get an offer at 8 or 9, I'll accept that if it's been up for a while, but the intent is never to sell anything under $10. So with what I would do every once in a while also is I purge my old material. So I've only actually done it once, but I've got a list to take out right now. But what I did last time is I took everything that like hadn't sold in about 2 years, unless it was a real high dollar amount, and then I'm just kind of waiting. And so slowly I lowered the price on everything. Still hadn't sold for $10 for a number of months, so I took it all down. And I got a lot of what I typically would do is put everything that doesn't sell in a box under the desk right here. And when this gets filled up, I take it up to half price books. And they give me what they will. They, you know, usually it's about $5, $10, sometimes as much as $15 for a box of books. So it's not much. But the good thing is they take all of them. They don't give me back any of them. So the ones that are trash, so they'll trash them or they'll recycle them. So I don't have to worry about that. I get a few dollars out of the whole deal. So rather than donating it to Goodwill or somewhere like that. So that's what I typically do. But I did get some advice and some suggestions on here about, oh, why don't you lot them up? Lot up the books you have or put them at auction. So I put a bunch of them up for auction the last time. And none of them sold except for this one. I got one bid at $5 on this book. And that was it. So I'm not going to do that again. It was just not worth the time and the effort, and then to go through all the auction and then take everything. After that, I took everything to Goodwill. I mean, Half Price Books, anyways. So, but that's why this one sold for $5, which is better than what Half Price Books would have paid for it. But it was a lot of effort for just the $5. All right, moving on. We had a Q-Link wireless SIM card. Been selling these for a couple of years now. Still sell about one a month or so. I got neutral feedback on this, and it was just part of my you take the good, you take the bad. I'll talk about it at the end. But neutral feedback on a $7.75 Q-Link card. All right, moving on. We had another sale for $8. This was Vida de la Virgen María, según las visiones de Ana Catalina Emmerich. Sold for $8. So we always talk about religion sales. Religion in Spanish sells very well as well. So, and then moving on, we had this one, The Master Book of Candle Burning, How to Burn Candles for Every Purpose. I don't know why you need a book on how to burn a candle. There must be more to it than that, but personally, and a master book as well on burning a candle. What does our society come to when you need a book on how to light a candle? All right. I'm sure there's much more to it than that. All right. The next one is another $10 book, The EKG Interpretation Made Easy, an illustrated study guide for students. This is something that you would need to know. I don't know how to read an EKG report. I'm going to go, look, your line's going up and down. I guess it means you're not dead. But, you know, that's a good one. And it sold for $10. That's a necessary book, a necessary skill, something to learn. How to burn a candle. All right, moving on. We had Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy by John Le Carré. He did die recently, so I thought maybe his books may sell a little bit more. I think they may have for a brief period of time, but that one did sell for just $10. And then we have the next not a book was a set of DVDs, the John Hughes Yearbook Collection. This included a Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, I think a couple others, and that sold for $10. And then, moving on, we have Irish Music, 400 traditional tunes. 400 traditional Irish music tunes. Sold for $10. 400. Oh. All right. And then we have, moving on, The Office Rockstar Playbook, How I Leveled Up as an Executive and Took Over the World. Just how I leveled up as executive. It was over $12. I got a few of these, and I'm hoping that the rest of them sell too. The notes that I have written on this next one says, try not to blush. I will try. I think I might. Okay. The Big Black Book of Sex Positions. Take your sex life from boring to mind-blowing. Sold for $15. Moving on. U.S. Army Special Forces Medical Handbook. This is the old ST3191B. You know the ST3191B. Took over from the ST3191A. You remember the A, right? That's the one that had all the errors in the back. Yeah, well, they fixed it with the B, but they didn't get everything, did they? That's why they had to come out with the C. This is the 3191B. Yeah, this is pretty good. It sold for $15. Moving on, we have Professional Gunsmithing by Walter J. Howe. Something to definitely you'd want a professional to handle your gunsmithing. And that sold for how much? $15. Good. All right. Moving on, we have the Holy Bible Leather Hand. Oh, no. Holy Bible Leather Handy Reference. King James World Publishing Red Letter in a box. Sold for $15. Religion sells. I always say not just Bibles, but don't forget the Bibles too. So Bibles often, they're leather, they're in a box, there's something unique about it. large print, red letter, the study Bibles, the ones that are, you have the column in the middle that has the references, things like that. Those typically sell more than others. And ones that do not have the dedication page filled out also helps to sell on a Bible. Moving on, Electromagnetics hardcover book by John D. Krause, sold for $15. This is one you need to look out for. So you always see the Time Life Old West books. I always see them. You may not. I shouldn't assume. But if you go out to bookstores, Goodwill bins, a lot of times you see the Time Life books. And I never pick them up, the Time Life ones. They just seem to be everywhere. And the Old West is one that you'll see a lot of. Well, if you see the index, the master index, that's what I picked up here. That one edition, that one book did sell for $18. So I don't know if that was just the one that was, most people just didn't get when they're collecting them. Maybe it's the very last thing they got and they had to, mail in a couple of coupons from a cereal box or something. I don't know. But for some reason, that one volume of the set sells for a little bit more money and pretty good. So $18 for the Old West Master Index. All right, moving on. I'm talking Dark Shadows again. Talked them last time. This was a lot of 5 Dark Shadows books. These were first edition, first printings from 69 to 70. It sold for $19. So once again, Dark Shadows. They've been good to me. All right, then we have a vintage, an older book. I'd say it's nearly antique. In fact, this is Margot's Secret by Florence Bow, and it's circa 1910, and that sold for $22.50. All right, we got another auto book. This is fun. I got this at the little thrift store right around the corner from where I work. The thrift store that is named Thrift Store. That's what it says above the door. And this was a Harley-Davidson Pig Coffee Mug. Classic tank design, circa 1936, and it sold for $25. That was fun. All right, next moving on. Designing and building a houseboat. Sold for $30. Much like gunsmithing, I think houseboat building, I would also recommend a professional. Don't just buy a book and build yourself a houseboat. But hey, it did sell for $30, so hope it works out for you, buddy. All right, next we had a dictionary. What kind was a Russian English Scientific and Technical Translators Dictionary, sold for $35. And then we have our 2 biggest sales. We have one that's a very good genre. Always look up Freemasonry stuff. This was Mackey's Symbolism of Freemasonry. It's Science, Philosophy, Legends, and Myths. Sold for $50. And then the next one was a set of 16 manga books. These were priest manga in English. The complete set of volumes 1 through 16 sold for $150. So I picked this up at the library book sale, and they had volumes 1 through 15 in a box. $5. So I bought the box for $5. And I got it home and realized when I started looking it up that there was a volume 16. So I went on eBay. I think it went eBay or Amazon. I think it was on eBay actually, and bought the 16th volume. So I paid, I think, about $5 to get that. When that came, then I had the complete 1 through 16 set, very good condition, and that is when they sold for $150. So that's my little tip for the day, that if you are missing one book, you might look to see how much more. I may have been able to sell 1 through 15 for a lot of money, but just being able to say I've got the complete set, the 1 through 16, it only cost me an extra $5 or $7, something like that, to get that last remaining book. So I recommend doing that. If you ever, you see a set out there that's missing one volume, see how much it is, just get that one volume to have the complete set, and then you can maybe get a lot more. Or even if it's not a lot more, you're more likely to be the one that sells than the ones that are missing one volume. So where does that bring us to? We have 19 books for $464.50, which is a $24.45 average, a scant 55 cents short of the $25 that I consider to be a good sales amount. Now, but my Nada books, they're solid. I have 3 Nada books for $42.75, $14.25 average, which is right what I was going for since the last video had so many Nada books. I was like, $14.25 is going to be fine this time. Let's see if we can do it. Did it once again. Yeah. All right. So that was a good. The sales are always a good. With eBay, you sometimes run into some other things that are not quite so fun. So some being possibly my fault, some definitely not. So here's a couple things that happened. I had like a 3-day period that was very frustrating. A very frustrating 3-day period. So first of all, I mentioned a while back that I picked up some trains at the Goodwill bins. Just train cars. Older train cars. I know nothing about trains, but I know that some trains definitely have value. And so I picked these up and I put them up for auction. And I took good pictures of them. I put in the title as is. And in the description, I said, I have no idea if these are working condition or not, or if they're just for display, or if they're just for parts. I know nothing about them. You know, I didn't say buyer beware, but it was basically leaning towards you'll buyer beware. And so they went over auction. They ended up selling for over $60. And when I shipped them off, then the guy asked for a return, stating that the black engine that was in there had been worked on and was missing a part which was not disclosed. I didn't know. I couldn't tell that it had been worked on and missing a part. Now, having put in as is, having put in my description, I probably could have fought the return. I didn't really want to, because I kind of took it as a learning experience. I'm sorry, excuse me. And so but I did offer half return. So I messaged back and said, hey, are these worth anything to you? How about a $30 refund and you can keep them? So he accepted that. And so I sent him $30, still made some money because I made 30, but not the full 60 that they had sold for. So what I took away from that is I need to be more careful about selling things that I don't know anything about. Or sticking to my guns when I say I don't know anything about them, and maybe I could take off returns allowed, something like that. I don't know, but I wanted to learn a little bit about them, and they were fun. They're fun to play with for a couple of days, but that was the first frustrating thing that happened. And then next day, I got a neutral feedback. So I haven't had a negative feedback in a long time. So right now, if I look at my feedback, it has 100% positive, no negatives, and 3 neutrals. Well, I got a neutral on, and this one's just totally my fault. Somebody bought this set of chipboard steampunk, I don't even know what it's for scrapbooking or something. And I have 2 things that look exactly alike, except for one of them is more of a paper and one's more of a chipboard. Well, I sent the wrong one. And so the person gave me neutral feedback saying these aren't chipboard as described, but they're still pretty cool. So she kept them. She didn't want to return. She kept them. But I did get a neutral feedback on that. And I responded being like, you're right. Totally right. I've got the other one here. If you want it, I'll give it to you at half off. Never heard back from her, but that was frustrating. So that was one that was my fault. Then the Q-Link guy gave me neutral feedback too because the thing didn't work. I am not a representative of Q-Link, and I always tell people who ask me questions about that, hey, there's a 1-800 number on the back. Call them. I have nothing to do with them other than I found a bunch of these and I'm selling them. He said it didn't work, and maybe my fault, like his fault. But he did leave the neutral feedback, and I didn't try to fight that one. I was just like, kind of over it. I was just not having a good week as it is. And then got another neutral feedback. So I bought these plates. So I've been getting into buying a lot more dishes, dish sets and plates and things. I bought these plates. There were 8 of them, and 7 of them are in really good condition, and 1 of them had a chip on the front and 2 chips on the back. Took careful pictures of the chips. And in the description said there is a chip on the front and 2 chips on the back of the last plate pictured. Please see pictures. And I got a neutral feedback saying one of the plates was chipped. Whereas this chip on the front, and almost exactly like my description is what her neutral feedback was. So I reached out to her and said, yeah, I disclosed that. I was in the pictures and it was in the description. Would you mind taking out the neutral feedback? A couple days passed, nothing happened. I did reach out to eBay to remove the feedback, and then like a day later, it did get removed, and she gave me positive feedback. And her comment in the positive feedback was, read the description. Yeah, it's good advice. You know, always read the description. Always read the description, people. And look at the pictures before you buy something. Look at the pictures and read the description. So all that happened within like a few days. And then my parents sell on eBay a little bit. They've sold like 9 items in their lifetime in the past couple of years. And eBay shut their account down. And of course, you know how it goes. They won't tell you why. It's just permanently suspended. And so they reached out to eBay. Why? Can't tell you. Can't tell you. Can't tell you. Won't tell you. They have no idea why it could possibly be. They've sold a couple books. They sold, my mother found a football ticket from the 1958-59 Sugar Bowl that she attended. Had sold a couple of those. Had some stuff up for sale, but never had a complaint. Never had a Vero. Never had anything. So that's frustrating to know that it happened to them. That same thing happened to my son as well. He'd sold like 5 books, all positive, feedback, and then got the same thing, got suspended. And they finally told him, we can't tell you why we suspended your account, or else you try to circumvent it. He had done, and I assure you he had done nothing wrong. I was right there with him, showing him how to do it, showing him how to do everything. So that scares me to think that at any point, all of this could be gone. It could just be, hey, you're suspended. Not going to tell you why. I don't like that about eBay. So that's the bad side of ye olden eBays. But we also have the good, which is, my 90-day total is about the highest it's ever been. It's right now at 87.39 on my 90-day total, with 233 items sold and 1,604 listed as of right now. Right before I started videoing, I checked it. And so that 90-day total and those numbers sold, as well as my listed, those are all as high as I can remember them being. So if they've ever been higher than that, I don't recall it. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are going as far as sales. It's good, right? Things are going pretty well there. But it's always in the back of your mind that it could just stop. So anytime I go like a day without a sale, I'm like, well, eBay's over. I'm done. I'm never going to sell anything again. And then it'll pick up and I'll be fine. But so I think that's it for today. If you ever had or heard of someone who got their account suspended like that and never actually got an answer, let me know. Like, I would love to, maybe there's a secret number you call, or there's a certain thing to say in order to actually get someone to tell you why your account was suspended. Because it's been very frustrating for my parents as well as my son. And it would be very frustrating for me if that happened. So, yeah, just tell me your experiences with that. And I think that's it for today. Oh, you want Switzerland? I know you do. Let me know. I'll be listing this tonight. And then if you want it, $5 for any viewer. And I think that's all I got. I don't see anything else laying around. I think I went through all my notes. And yeah, so anyways, I hope you're selling the heck out of a whole bunch of stuff. And I hope to see you sooner rather than later. Adios. Where's my clicker? Try that again. Adios.